So could you be attempting to solve the wrong problem when it's actually really your mindset that's needing to be transformed? That's what we're going to discuss on this episode of Quest for Freedom in Season 5, which is all about mindset freedom. And I brought in my dear friend and special guest, the first ever guest to this podcast, Osmaan Sharif, to dive into this topic. So Osmaan, let's just get started and talk about this.
Exactly. This is one of my favorite pieces of the puzzle, because when I work with my coaching clients and business owners, I love basically helping them to try and figure out what they want to improve in their life or their business. And typically, when people come to me, whether that's in a workshop or one-to-one or in a group setting, it's because there's something that's just not flowing for them. And what they've done up until that point is they've tried to change their habits, or they've tried to do, lots more action or hustle more or just, work harder. And then they get to the point, why is this still not working? And it's typically because they've been doing the wrong thing. It's not about the actions that they're doing or not doing that's making the difference. It's actually what's happening in their mind that's actually the biggest challenge that they have that needs to be solved. So really excited to be diving into this with you today.
Yeah, me too. So why is it that we tend to put the blame on everything else apart from what's happening in our mind? Why do you think it is? Is it just easier to tackle external forces than actually looking at our inner mind and figuring out what's going on in there?
Yeah, that's what my belief around it is, because it can seem more tangible. It's like, that's changed because, Facebook algorithms changed, or I need to change my strategy, for example, or I just didn't have the right product, or maybe this isn't the right business kind of model for me. It gives us a lot of what I call excuses, or we can legitimize a lot of the reasons why things aren't working. But when you actually put the spotlight back on you, then the only way that we can change that or deal with it is if you actually give yourself permission to do it. So that can be it could take a lot more bravery and kind of like, impact for actually moving that forward as well.
Yeah, I agree. So what are some of your tools that you have up your sleeve, of so many wonderful tools that you have to dive deep into the entrepreneurial mindset that you use with your clients when you see them doing this? Like, have you even got an example of somebody that would be a good sort of story to follow along with?
Yeah, definitely. So I keep things really, really simple. Okay, so mindset is a huge component, but let me frame this in a way in terms of how I work. I call it the rapid transformation formula, and this is what helps make sure that you've got the foundations rock solid. So there's actually 3 components. The first one is the design. So trying to really uncover, what are your goals? Are those goals fitting with what's actually important to you? Do they fit with your entrepreneurial superpower? Because imagine this as an analogy, right? You would never go and build a house, would you, just by going to the local builder's merchant and starting to buy bricks and cement. You wouldn't. You need to have that crystal clear design. But even if you have that best design, it's the mindset part that really can then stop us, because then we can start to second guess ourselves, or we can slow ourselves down in that way. But even with mindset and the design, you still then need to follow the third part, which is your strategies. So let me give you an example. I'm working with a coach at the moment, so a business owner who is in the coaching industry. And over the years, they have had so many different models, honestly, in terms of how their coaching business was. They started off one-to-one, then they went to group, then they went to kind of online workshops, and then they went to in-person workshops. And every time they kept going, it's just not working because of this or for that. But really, I had to kind of figure out, why was it that they got to a certain point where they actually were getting results? They were getting known in their local market particularly, and then effectively they would kind of just basically close down shop and go, right, let's start again with a different brand. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't actually because they didn't have a really good design or they weren't clear about what their goals were. And it wasn't that they were sitting doing nothing or being lazy. It literally was when they would get to a certain point where people were coming to them with bigger challenges to deal with, when they were actually getting their name out there in their world and getting known, they would start to then question themselves like, who am I? And they'd have what I call, the imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. So the way that they would deal with that was basically rip up all those results that they were getting up until that point and going, let's start again. So that's why it doesn't matter, for example, what their business plan was or what marketing strategy that they were doing or not, because that pattern, honestly, I believe would just completely repeat until they either go, this business malarkey doesn't work for me, or they would drive themselves crazy. So we had to kind of really delve into, well, what was actually holding them back? And a lot of it was down to some previous experiences that they had in the past where they got some criticism. And they basically took that so personally that that became a big belief structure that they can only get to a certain point and they would never get to the top of their game. And literally that was manifesting itself in their business without them even realizing it as well.
So this is all fantastic stuff, and I'm sure a lot of people who are listening can resonate. So what are some of your top tips that you have for them if they do know and they can actually see that their mindset is holding them back?
Absolutely. I would say get curious about what has been happening in your life or your business, okay? So even looking at when do you get a certain level of success? And then you might kind of feel like you then get to that dip, for example, or things start to change or you create some chaos in your life as well. Just get curious about what was happening there, because that can often be a real good telltale sign in terms of there might have been a limiting belief there, or there might have been something around, the mindset that actually made you either have some fear around it or hold yourself back as well. So a surefire way is look at what's been happening in your business recently as well to see actually, is it a mindset thing that's actually the thing that needs to be tackled?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And it's just hard for us to admit it. But as you've pointed out, and I will share a link in this podcast, if you come across to nataliesisson.com/28, I will actually embed the Facebook Live that we did just a week ago and share that with you so that you can see, because in that we talked a lot about how, well, just so many good things, wasn't it, Osman? But I definitely think just how the minute you can reframe and rewire your brain, you drop so many of those limiting beliefs. And it's like an instant drop, as you said in that video. And that to me is just the fascinating, wonderful thing about our mindsets, is that we can reprogram them and rewire them in minutes. Like you've done that with your clients. So if you feel like you've been holding on to limiting beliefs for too long, or you feel like you are being held back, it is a solvable problem, and it's much easier than you think, especially with Osman around. So that's why we'd really love to invite you to check out our wonderful new Freedom Lab that is happening in January 2018. Full details on this live 8-week experience where Osman and I are going to be walking you through all your mindset remastery are at nataliesisson.com/mindset. Just go and check out the details, get yourself on the VIP list, and we'll be sharing more information as we send it out to you in email, sort of like drip feed it to you so you can get super excited, which we are as well. Anything that you'd love to finish off on here, Osman, before we tune out on this episode?
Yeah, I think the key thing that gets me really excited is that when you then realize that you're solving the right problem, such as the mindset, it then allows you to basically actually step things up. Because if you've got a mindset that's working for you, that's then going to have an impact in terms of even the way that you design your life or your business. It gives you that scope to go, what could I achieve if I really set my mind to it, for example? And even when it comes down to those strategies and those habits, when you unlock your mindset, then a lot of those strategies then become a lot more easier and you get a lot more bolder with your moves. So really, I'm excited to see what happens when you actually focus on dealing with your mindset and seeing the results that happens in all areas of your life and your business.
100%. I'm so excited to see. So if you've been enjoying these episodes, please do come across to the show notes, check out what we've written down, leave a comment below. And if you have any questions as well, we'll be checking there. And in the meantime, tune in to the next episode where, what are we going to be discussing, Osman?
Well, the next episodes, we're going to be diving into negative stories a wee bit more. So we obviously talked about it on that Facebook Live, but we're really going to, again, take a different perspective on it and actually show how our minds effectively do work on autopilot and thinking about what are those beliefs that could be holding you back as well.
I love it. Just a wee bit more awesome for you on the next episode.